So, hello friends, good morning. Today, this is our lecture number 5 of machine learning, Introduction to Machine Learning. And in the previous 5 lectures, we have already seen about the introduction of machine learning. We have seen how machine learning is important and how it proves to be, a subdomain of artificial intelligence systems. So, previously in lectures, I have told you that machine learning is of various types. Like I have explained it to you that it consists of 4 types, 4 different types of there or of machine learning, which included the supervised learning, the unsupervised learning, semi-supervised learning, and the reinforcement learning. We have seen all of them. Right. Now, I have taken up the lectures of supervised learning, where we have seen thoroughly that how this supervised learning is working out with the help of different algorithms. There are dedicated algorithms for supervised learning as well. Together with that, we did about unsupervised learning as well, in which we have seen how unsupervised learning works out, how it gets executed, and what all are the major algorithms. Like we have seen k-means algorithm. This is one of the famous algorithm and one of the significant algorithm in terms of unsupervised learning. So we have seen this thing how these algorithms are executed using the concept of unsupervised learning. Together with that, I explained it to you that there is a type of learning which is called type of concept in unsupervised learning, which is called clustering. And in clustering, we have seen the type which is called hierarchical clustering, in which we have seen 2 different kind of clustering algorithms. One is agglomerative and one is divisive. So after doing all these 2 types of learning, now we come over to the third type of learning, which is called semi-supervised learning. So before going into the depth, let me tell you very clearly that see what exactly is semi-supervised learning. As I told you in the earlier lectures also, that semi-supervised learning is not a very separate kind of idea. It is not a very different kind of idea, but basically it takes use of 2 different techniques, like the supervised learning and the unsupervised learning. So some portions, some concepts from supervised learning together with some concepts from unsupervised learning, both are combined together to form a semi-supervised learning concept. So again, we are going to see today that what is semi-supervised learning and how it is getting executed, what all are the procedures and executions criteria for performing semi-supervised learning. So let us just quickly move over to the presentation part, and let us just see that how this semi-supervised learning works out. Let me just quickly share the presentation with you so as to understand the whole concept. Okay, so we are going to start with this semi-supervised learning. I hope the PPT is clear to all of you. So first of all, if you come over to the semi-supervised learning part, then I told you this thing that see, semi-supervised learning is not a very new idea. It is not a very new thing. So here you can see why I highlighted this semi. I have striked it out semi. Why? Because I'm just showing this concept to you that semi-supervised learning is not having a separate existence. It is just the portion. It is just the part of the supervised learning. In fact, so here. First of all, you should understand that what exactly is supervised learning. The supervised learning is nothing but it is the learning from the labeled data. That simply means that your machine and the user, you and your machine, both know in advance that what can be the labels of the data. In what labels your machine is going to identify the objects. Like if you are if you are identifying the eatable objects, then you are going to train your machine only on the 2 things. Let's say you are training your machine on either some eatables that you are giving as a data will either be fruits or they will either be vegetables. So when you have already given such kind of data to your machine and you are training them on the defined labels, that labels are one is vegetable and one is fruit. So you have already defined all these two labels. So in that case, your machine already know what it is. So whenever the data will come and whenever it will extract the features with the help of extracted features, it will decide that whether a particular thing is of fruit class or is it of vegetable class. So this is basically supervised learning, and I already told you this that in supervised learning it is very easy for your machine and for you itself, because you already are providing all the things in advance. Your machine doesn't have to predict on some kind of unknown thing. Your machine already knows all kind of things. So this is basically supervised learning. Then see, supervised learning, when we talk about it, can take up any kind of sample space. Like it can distinguish between whether a particular mail is considered to be a spam mail or it is not considered to be a not spam mail. Why? On the basis of text extraction, on the basis of some of the specific text, it can identify that particular mail is consisting, or it is of spam nature and it is not of spam nature. So all these things are maintained by this supervised learning algorithm. Then there could be some other examples also. There can be lot many classifiers that you can use. SVM, the support vector machine, can be used for supervised learning. You can use another algorithm which is called decision tree algorithm, and there are lot many algorithms that you can use to apply over the supervised learning part. Right now. These are some of the things that we can use or that we can apply over this semi-supervised learning, which is recognizing your speech, steering your car, classifying some of the documents. You can classify the proteins. These are some of the problem examples. These are problem spaces that you can on which you can apply semi-supervised learning. And then recognizing the faces, objects in the images, like you do captcha. This is a very common thing that you have seen while you are reserving some kind of tickets over IRCTC and some other things also. You usually encounter captcha things. So these all are related to our supervised semi-supervised learning paradigms. So this was all about supervised learning, where you have easily accessible datas and labels which are available to you. But see, this is not a feasible part every time, because what happens is you have a large repositories of data every now and then on the data centers, but still it is a problem that the labeled data is very rare and it is very expensive. However, there are some labeled data, but every time it is not freely available. You have to purchase that data and it could be expensive at times. So in that case, what happens is we usually end up using unlabeled data. And wherever this term comes, unlabeled data, see, obviously it is cheaper, because you don't have the labels, you don't have the pre-information, advanced information required for that particular data. So it is very feasible for you to work out with unlabeled data, and that is where the unsupervised learning algorithm comes into the picture, because you don't know the data in advance. So on the basis of the properties of the data, on the basis of the features that a data is reflecting, you are only going to identify that whether a particular object is belonging to a particular group or not, because there is no label. So you cannot label them that is it a fruit, is it a vegetable. The the objects which are reflecting some kind of a similar property, only this is the case that you can group them up together and make a group of them, which are making a cluster sort of things. So here comes the picture of unsupervised learning. So unlabeled data can be of, it can be in the form of speeches, it can be in the form of customer modeling, it can be of the protein sequences which are belonging to biotechnology, it could be images, it could be web pages, it could be medical outcomes, it could be diagnosis reports. So it could be anything which you can think of. So unlabeled data are, in a very unstructured format. Unstructured means that the text can be of any format. There is no specific structure of the data, like the data will be always be in numerical format or it will always be of text nature. So it is always unstructured one, and these are some of the examples that you can see on the screen. It could be speech, images, web pages, whatever it could be. So these are some of the examples of unlabeled data. Okay, now, as I told you, unlabeled data is very it is much cheaper than let's say a short example we can take. The task is speech analysis. We need to analyze the speech. We need to see or find out some, which language it is of, and what it is predicting, what is the meaning of whatever the speech is. So here, how can we do that? Switchboard data set. There is a data set which is of switchboard, and it is of, telephonic conversation of some people. So it is a 400 hour of annotation time it is taking for each hour of speech. So that is, kind of telephonic conversation is totally unstructured data where it is not labeled. So it is the work of semi-supervised and unsupervised learning to label them up or to group them up in a different clusters, whichever is, reflecting similar properties. So this can be used as well. Now, after this, we come over to the exact part which we say the semi-supervised learning. So, can we use unlabeled data to augment a small labeled sample to improve learning? So, this is the point where the semi-supervised learning comes. That, you have got a small labeled data. You don't have that much of a big repository of the labeled data, but you have got very small labeled data. So can we do this kind of thing that we can use unlabeled data to, help the labeled data get out of its way? So this is where the semi-supervised learning comes into the picture. So see, unlabeled data is missing the most important information, right? But maybe still has useful regularities that we can use, right? Now, let us understand it in a different way. See, however unlabeled data is, it is missing the information. It doesn't have any kind of labels over it, so we cannot find out what kind of properties a particular object can have. But there is some kind of useful regularities that exist in your unlabeled data, and this is the point that you can use to, augment your labeled data. So let us just understand how you can augment your small data. Now, semi-supervised learning is considered to be the substantial, recent research works in machine learning, and a number of interesting methods have been developed. Now, see, we need to discuss several diverse methods for taking advantage of unlabeled data. As I told you already, that the benefit of unlabeled data could be sometimes the irregularities that it shows. So this could be taken up. Now, we'll see this thing. The very first method for semi-supervised learning is co-training. What is it? So see, many times what happens is that if you have got, different unlabeled data. So in that case, you are not able to identify the labels of those data. So what you can do is you have different sources of information which you can use to determine the labels. Like for example, you are classifying web pages, and on the basis of that, what you can do is you can just classify. Like suppose this is first of the example that you can see here. What you are seeing is it is kind of a resume of some professor, and by text we cannot identify, by the by the page we cannot identify what kind of thing it is. But yes, there are some things like the written text, like professor is written over here, the link information, the textual information will help you out in identifying that this particular web page consists of a resume part, it consists of a profile of some kind of faculty. So, however, we didn't know in advance that this web page consists of a resume or a cover letter or let's say a profile of a faculty. But with the help of the text and the linking information which is given inside this text, we are able to classify our web page. We are able to determine the label that yes, this website consists of the resume or the, let's say, the profile of a particular people. So this is basically the part of semi supervised learning. This is called co-training. Then what exactly is the idea behind co-training? So idea says that we need to use small label samples to learn initial rules. What are the rules? Like for example, It was written my advisor. Now pointing to a page is a good indicator it is a faculty home page. So once you click the my advisor hyperlink, you will be directed to the home page of a faculty's profile. And similarly, I'm teaching on a page is a good indicator that it is a faculty home page. So again, on the basis of the information which is available to you, you can identify and you can find out that what can be the labels. Like we have find out that it is a resume. Now how would you identify that the resume which is displayed over the website, is it of marketing professional, or is it a kind of sales professional, or is it a banker, or he or she is a teacher? So here this line, like if you are text mining, you are classifying the text, you are extracting the text, the properties of the data, you'll understand here it is written I am teaching. So this is just a symbol and signifies, this small label thing is signifying that the resume is of a faculty member, it is of a teacher. So these are the small labeled samples which will help you out in labeling a big thing. In that case, you can now label your web page to be a faculty profile page. So this is how semi-supervised working out. So semi-supervised, now you can got a little bit idea of the thing that semi-supervised learning is nothing but using small samples of labeled data, because we here assume that we don't have huge volumes of data which are labeled. So we assume here that whatever data is available to us which are already labeled, which we already know in advance, we can use such kind of data to identify the unlabeled data repository that we already have. So this is the core concept of semi-supervised learning. So I think you people will be understanding with this very simple example that I have told you about the web pages and finding out the faculty profile. Let us move further. So again, see the second example here. How can we turn up, the small label data into the unlabeled data? How can we extract the features? So again, example could be identifying the objects with the help of images. So you can see here, there are two different kind of pre-processing. See, this is a kind of different pre-processing. Here it is. From the image itself, you can see what are the objects, the vehicles are running over the road. Here again, you can see similar, these two pictures are not very clear. And even by them, we can see how many, vehicles are going on. Here we have, these roads have been hidden over here. In these two pictures, you can see. Now, again, the example could be, named entity extraction. With the help of named entity, with the help of, the names which you are using in your sentences, in the text, we can identify the things like here it is written, I arrived in London yesterday. So on the basis of, this picture, let's say somebody has posted this picture and below this picture it is written, I arrived in London yesterday. So on the basis of the picture, we are not able to extract that which location exactly it is. But since below this picture it is written, the text is written that I arrived in London yesterday, so I can easily extract this information that yes, if the if this information is written below this picture, that simply means that somebody is running over the roads of the London and he is saying that I have arrived in London. So definitely the picture is of some location somewhere in London. So this is one way out of finding out the unlabeled data. So here you can see how can we do that. Setting is in in each example how we can set them. We can put a formula where x is equals to hx1 and x2y, where x1 and x2 are the two different views of data. We have seen two different views could be, one is like image processing that we have seen, and one is could be that text extraction using the help of text you can identify. Now we can have separate algorithms running on each view. On images we can use different kind of algorithm that we can run, and on the text part we can use different kind of algorithm. So both will help each other in training. That is where the concept of co-training comes, that there are two different views, there are two different algorithms which are implementing over the two different kind of data, and when these two are cooperating with each other to train each other, in that case your machine will learn the things. So did you see the example? Just again see this example. What is happening now? Unless this text is written, suppose this letter was not there, this text was not there on the picture itself. Now in that case what could have happened? We were not able to identify that which location it is, because it is a general thing. There is a road and there are vehicles running over it, and the picture is not very clear, not very zoomed one. So we cannot identify that which kind of which proper location it could be. So as and when you provide such kind of information, such kind of text is extracted, on the basis of that we can easily identify that somebody has written London, then yes, this particular location belongs to London. So this is how they are cooperating with each other. Without any one single view you cannot identify the next view. So this is what we call is a co-training part. This is again showing, see, the cooperating part, the red and the black plus signs that you are seeing, they are the cooperating views which are cooperating with each other and finding out a single window. Here you can see a single window. This is showing the results. You can identify a particular object on the basis of the cooperating views that we have seen, and both the cooperating views have different kind of algorithms implemented over them. But with the help of each other only, with the help of co-training only, you can identify a particular object and you can label them up even if it is unlabeled in nature. This is just the graph result of the web pages that we have seen, how they are happening. Just see. Now see, these are the visual detectors with different kind of processing. Here you can see figure 1, example images used to test and train the car detection system. Here we are detecting the cars. On the left hand side you can see the cringel images, and on the right hand side are background subtracted images. We have subtracted the background from them. So images with 50 labeled cars, 2200 unlabeled images are there. Now this you can see how we can represent the things here. So this is just the example that we have seen. It is summarized in the form like this. That can be home pages. Then this is just a Venn diagram to show all of these things which we have already discussed. So if x1 and x2 are independent given the label, and if it has algorithm that is robust to noise, then we can learn from an initial weakly useful rule plus unlabeled data. And in some cases you can use this to learn from a single labeled data example. So if algorithms are correct, when they are confident, they suffices from distribution to have the expansion. We can use them as and when we want. Now we'll see the second method. The first method was of co-training. Now we'll see what is the second method, which is called transductive SVM or support vector machine. Let us see quickly what the second method is. Now here you see, we suppose that the target separator goes to a low density region of the space where we have large margins. Okay. Now we aim for the separator with large margin with respect to the labeled and the unlabeled data. So here you can see what is happening here. We are considering only the labeled data here. So this pink line shows only the labeled data. One is at one side there is only a labeled data, and the other side there is only on unlabeled data. So how we can do that? We can bifurcate them using a labeled line. Here you can see we can use a separator. This separator is used to separate the labeled data from the unlabeled data. And this concept can be implemented using support vector machine. Here you are seeing we are applying support vector machine. So this support vector machine can be used to separate the labeled data from the unlabeled data, through which we can help each other and coordinate each other to get the result. So suppose here aim for the separator with large margin with respect to labeled and unlabeled data we have seen. Now, unfortunately, optimization problem is now NP hard. NP hard, you people already know, you have seen it in design and analysis of algorithm. So NP hard problems are the ones which, you cannot find the solution of them in a predetermined time. So it does a kind of local optimization it does. So it starts with the large margin over the labeled data and induces that labels on the unlabeled data, and then it try to flip labels in greedy fashion. Now, suppose we believe that the target separator goes through low density regions of the space and large margin, and then it aims for the separator with a large margin with respect to labeled and unlabeled data, that is L plus U, labeled and unlabeled. Now, unfortunately, as I told you, this there is a NP hard condition that arrives here. So in that case, we cannot do so. So this is one of the method that we can do take use of SVM. Right. The next method is graph based methods. What is that? Now let us understand the third method, which is graph-based method. Now suppose we believe that very simple examples probably have the same labels, right? Now if you have a lot of label data, this suggests that we can use a nearest neighbor type of algorithm. Nearest neighbor is what? The clustering of those objects which are reflecting similar properties, or they are nearer to each other. The distance between the two datas is very less. So in that case, we can use nearest neighbor algorithm. So if you have a lot of unlabeled data, perhaps that can be used for stepping stones. So you see here handwriting recognition. In handwriting recognition, what we can do, see here, this is the very first example. See, now we see the nearest neighbor. So if you see both of these, actually they are two. They are numerical values, which is two. But because they are very different from each other, they are not reflecting some kind of a similar properties. This is written in a very different manner, and this is written in a very different manner. So in that case, they are not nearest to each other. So I can conclude that they are not similar. But here, if you see in the left hand side, you can see the handwriting, the written procedure, the movements, the strokes that you are seeing, handwriting strokes that you are seeing, they are somewhat similar to each other. Now in this case, if you see, they are somewhat representing similar kind of strokings. So here I can say that yes, these are belonging to a single group, and this due to these written handwriting strokes, I can identify them as it is a written numerical value which is written as 2. Okay. Now, what is the idea? Here we need to construct a graph with the edges between the very simple examples and similar examples, right? And unlabeled data can help glue the objects of the same class together. Now here see, you can see this example, I guess. See, what we are doing is we have made the data that we have is of 1, 2, 8, 4, 9, and 0. Now what we are going to do is whichever handwriting is reflecting some kind of a similar strokings, the pattern is found to be similar. Like see, here the 8 and here the 8. However, they are written in a very different manner, but still they are reflecting some kind of a similar property. Like you can see the written text of 8, the directions that is used. So they are somewhat similar. So what we can do is we can combine them up. We can connect them with the edges because they are somewhat similar. They are representing some kind of similar properties. Like similarly, you can see here, you can see twos. All of them are written in a different manner, but still because the strokes are somewhat similar, we are combining them with the help of edges. Similarly, see the nines. fours, and here the zeros. All of them are, resembling. They are not equal to each other. They are not similar to each other, but still, because they are having some level of similarity, some percentage of similarities, that is why we have connected them using the edges. Now here you can see. Here are some of the pictures. So for solving this out, we can have the randomized algorithm, which is a minimum cut. So we can apply minimum cut wherever it is required, and we can identify the unlabeled data with the help of this. So minimum cut will identify that what how can one set of objects can be clustered in a single group, and how other set of data can be clustered in other kind of groups. So minimum cut is the best algorithm that you can apply over these graph-based methods of semi-supervised learning. This is the solution which is given, how we can minimize function u and function v. What is function u and v? When we talk about a particular edge which are connected and which are representing some kind of a similar property, what we can do is we can find out the minimum cut with the help of this. We'll apply the function over the one endpoint and subtract the function with the next endpoint. So fu minus fv, that means u minus v. So you are subtracting and you are finding out the distance between one endpoint to the other endpoint. So this is how we can do that. So now this crucial question comes, that is there some underlying principle here? And what should be true about the world for unlabeled data to help? So this is one question that arrives in this case. So what do we need to do in this case? The solution lies with the supervised learning. We need to detour back to the standard supervised learning algorithm, and we need to understand there only that how can we solve such kind of questions. So this is the standard formulation that you can see of the supervised learning algorithm, where we have some training data, like we have X as a data, and we are applying some kind of function over this data. Now assume that these X are random samples from underlying distribution of V over the instance space, and we have a label target function which is going to identify your data into some specific label. Now, if you apply some kind of algorithm which does the optimization over this S set to produce some hypothesis rule, let's say a prediction rule H. So goal is for the H to do well on new examples. So once you have, find out one prediction rule, that prediction rule should be applied and should, work out on each and every data in the sample space. This is the new point. This is another example that we can use. So finally, we can say that semi-supervised model, the high-level idea of using these models would be, intrinsically, we can use notions of simplicity, which identify the unlabeled data. Like we can use separators, as we have seen in SVM. Similarly, we can use small cut, the minimum cut problem we can use in graph-based methods. And then we can have cell-consistent rules, which we have seen co-training methods. So these are the three methods which, builds up a super semi-supervised model. This can be used anytime, right? For if you want to apply semi-supervised learning. This is co-training, as I told you. We have seen this thing. So, my dear friends, we can now forward for the conclusion part, as you have already seen what all are the examples, how semi-supervised model works out, and what all are the ways which we can apply over semi-supervised learning. So finally we can conclude this today's lecture with the with the theories like this. Semi-supervised learning is just an area of increasing importance in machine learning. However, it was not of much importance in the previous years, but yet, because of the non-availability of the label data and the expensive nature of the label data, we gradually we are coming over to these unsupervised learning models, and automatic methods of collecting data make it more important than ever to develop methods to make use of unlabeled data. Now, there are several promising algorithms and also new theoretical frameworks to help to guide the further development. So, it is a very new and recent field over which the researches are still going on, that how a small labeled data set can help out in identifying the unlabeled data. So, this is all about semi-supervised learning today. And in tomorrow's lecture, we are going to cover up the last type of the fourth type of machine learning, which is called reinforcement learning. And thanks for watching. And now I'm just sharing with all of you the MCQ part of whatever learnings we have done today, whatever semi-supervised theories we have understood today. So I'm just quickly going to give you an MCQ. Please go through it and just see if you are able to answer it all up. And in case of any queries, you can do approach me anytime. Thank you. So let me share the MCQs with all of you. Please go through it. Whatever we have learned today, it is all related to that. And I hope, because the lecture is already clear to you, you'll be definitely able to answer all the questions here. So let me just present it to you. So these are the first two questions. What is true about machine learning? I think you'll be able to easily answer this question. Let's go through it. Second question says ML is a field of AI consisting of learning algorithms that they improve their performance at executing some task or over the time with experience, or you can say all of them. So I hope this one is very clear to you and you are able to answer these questions easily. Now let us see the next set of questions. Now this is a bit tricky question. We have already seen the concepts of the question of the theories that on these questions are based on. So just quickly go through it and just identify what will be the correct answer. I hope you were able to answer these two questions. Now let us see next set of questions. So a model language consists of categories which does not include is it the system units, structural units, data units, or empirical units. I hope you were able to answer these two questions, question number 7 and question number 8. Let me just share the other set of questions with you, question number 9 and question number 10. So very easy question it is. Which of the following are ML methods based on human supervision? Is it supervised learning, semi-supervised or semi-reinforcement learning, or all of the above? I think you'll be able to answer the question very easily. The 10th question says, in model-based learning methods, an iterative process takes place on the ML models that are built based on the various model parameters. So what are they called? Are they called mini batches, or they are optimized parameters, or they are hyperparameters or super parameters? So that is even a very easy question. Whatever we have done in the past few lectures, it sums up all. Please quickly go through it and just select your correct choice. So I hope all of this is already clear to all of you. You were able to answer all these questions. So in today's lecture, let me quickly summarize to all of you here that today in this lecture we have taken up semi-supervised learning, which is the third type of machine learning out of four. And we have seen supervised learning, we have seen unsupervised learning. Both are different major pillars of machine learning. But when we talk about semi-supervised learning, we have seen this thing that it is a recent emerging technology in machine learning where both the concepts are amalgamated together, and here we assume that we have too much less labeled data, and using that too much less labeled data we are identifying, we are doing our best to predict the unlabeled data category, because see, unlabeled data is freely available and it is highly unstructured. So how can we, using supervised learning, how can we identify or how can we label the unlabeled data on the basis of whatever knowledge we have using the label type? So this is what we have done in today's lecture. I hope the lecture was clear to all of you, and I I just suggest you that you should, go through some of the very good online content that is available on the W3 schools. Also, you can find the contents related. You can find the references over these machine learning algorithms. Please go through it, as it is a very emerging and very recent trend, and it will help you out in identifying, the research areas and the interesting topics that you can go for. So this is all for today, and for tomorrow's lecture, we are going to start out with the fourth category of learning, that is reinforcement learning. Let us just quickly move to the next part of the lecture. Thank you so much, and please study hard. Thank you.